Oh, the NFL draft first round did not disappoint. And we had drama, we had crazy things happen, we had surprises, and we had some absolutely ridiculous moves by teams. So, the highlight of the entire draft is the fact that Shedeur Sanders did not get drafted. And you had people dancing on this kid's grave, and I do not understand why. Can anybody explain to me why you would be happy about Shedeur Sanders not being drafted? Are you getting paid for this? Are you not getting any money? Like, what? Why? Makes no sense to me. The level of hate and animosity directed at this kid. But we'll get into why that happened and what I believe is the reason for that. But let's start at the top because Cam Ward went number one. This was the worst kept secret in all of secretum, and so that's where the draft started. But not only did Shedeur Sanders not get drafted, you had Will Johnson from Michigan not get drafted. You had Luther Burden not get drafted, who was predicted in a lot of, first round mock drafts. And then the last question is, why the hell was Jalen Milroe even at the draft? Can anybody explain that to me? I don't understand. I mean, people assumed that he was going to be drafted early because he was there, but it was clear to anybody with two eyes that he was not going to be drafted in the first round. So that made zero sense, and I feel bad for the kid that he even went. Another draft takeaway is the SEC and the Big Ten are the big two conferences. They absolutely dominated. 26 of the 32 first round picks came from the SEC and the Big Ten. You had 15 from the SEC, you had 11 from the Big Ten, and it's going to be very close to which conference ends up with the most draft picks. And you had one from FCS from North Dakota State, where you had the guard, Ashton Jeanty from the Mountain West Conference. You had two ACC picks and two Big 12 picks. That's it. So you had six picks outside of those two conferences. And this is, a major and a significant thing. You guys make sure that you guys like, subscribe, get notifications if you're watching on YouTube. So go ahead and watch. If you're watching on X or uh, any of the other places where we stream at, then go ahead and hit that button as well. Unafraid Show on YouTube. All right, so I had no problem with the Cam Ward pick. But here is the thing is that quarterbacks consistently get overvalued in the draft. Now, was Cam Ward the best player in the draft? No. But this was the full Cam Ward experience. And we had, information and people were talking about the fact that the Giants offered this year's first round pick, next year's first round pick, and plenty of other picks to move up to draft Cam Ward. Can anybody explain to me what the hell the Giants are doing? Because they make zero sense. They have no idea what they're doing at quarterback. They signed Jameis Winston in the offseason, only to then turn around and sign Russell Wilson to start over him. And then they draft a rookie quarterback who's going to get minimal reps this year behind those two. What kind of sense does that make? How are you going to develop a quarterback like that? Nonsense. Nonsense. I feel bad for Jaxson Dart, who can be a good player, but they put him in an absolute no-win situation. And if I was Jameis Winston or if I were Russell Wilson, I'm not even trying to be at this joint no more. This is a bad. If either one of them, if Jameis could go to the Pittsburgh Steelers, he probably would right now. He'd be happy to do that. But anyways, the draft kicked off. Cam Ward, first overall. And you got to love this kid's story. Kid went from a zero-star recruit to being the top pick in the draft. But my issue with Cam Ward is the same thing. He's so old to be doing some of the same crazy stuff that he does against Cal and against one of the other teams toward the end of the season. He's running toward the sideline, throws a pass back to the middle of the field. I call it the full Cam Ward experience because on one hand, he is fantastic. Arm strength is great. He's a great leader, all of these things. And then sometimes he will just J.R. Smith you. You just be left scratching your head like, bro, what are you doing? And that's exactly what is the full Cam Ward experience. So the kid is going to have an opportunity to lead the Titans, be a big time leader, but the Titans are nowhere close to winning, and he's not the simple solution or the simple fix to anything that's going on with the Tennessee Titans right now. Not at all. So good luck and Godspeed to him. But his journey from Incarnate Ward to Washington State, Miami, all of that, absolutely fantastic. But the draft really started to heat up at number 2 because the Jacksonville Jaguars, with their 34-year-old GM James Gladstone, dude traded multiple picks, including a future first rounder, to move up to the second spot to get Travis Hunter. Now the question is are they going to be willing to acquiesce Travis Hunter in playing wide receiver and DB? And this is the first time since 1997 that a team traded the top 2 picks for a non-quarterback. That is that's a lot. That's a lot. And I do think that he's going to be phenomenal in the league. That's just a big haul for, for the Jaguars. But I will say this is a team that was in the playoffs 2 years ago. If they can keep Trevor Lawrence healthy, get better play out of Trevor Lawrence, this may turn out to be the pick that can get them over the hump. Now, then you go with the Giants at 3. People thought that this was where Shedeur Sanders could go, but it has become painfully evident over the last, few weeks, over the you can call it a smear campaign, you can call it whatever you want. It has been abundantly clear that Shedeur Sanders was not going to be a top 10 pick. So, with this Abdul Carter pick, you add him in with Kayvon Thibodeau, and this is how you're trying to build your defense. And truthfully, the Atlanta Falcons did the exact same thing in this draft, where they drafted two outside linebackers slash edge rushers. So this is the Giants trying to shore up some pass rush, which is clearly important. But they got bigger fish to fry. They need wide receivers. Their quarterback situation, like I told you, is at an absolute shambles. They have no idea what they're doing. And this feels like, yes, you maybe drafted a good player, but this doesn't feel any closer to not getting Brian Dable fired this year. And their general manager is showing still incompetence. Anyways, then you got the Patriots doing a good job. Drafting Will Campbell from LSU. Will it be a good player? I don't know. However, this is a quality pick to protect your investment in your quarterback you drafted last year out of North Carolina. Then you had the Browns, which traded back with the Jaguars. They take Mason Graham out of Michigan. And I just want to point out to you guys that Mason Graham, Tetaroia McMillian, the quarterback still in college, Noah Fafita, Bennett, who plays tight end. I think he's still at Arizona. That was an NFL player. He's a pretty good player. They were all on the same high school team. You understand that? Do you understand what it's like to have 4 guys who may play in the NFL on your high school team and 2 of them first round draft picks? Insane. Um, Mason Graham, he doesn't look like much, but the kid's electric. Love it. They think the Browns added him with Myles Garrett. This is going to be a phenomenal situation for the Browns. This is a slam dunk draft pick for them. The Raiders then draft Ashton Jeanty at 6. What? There's nothing to argue about here. This is an absolute win. The kid is a stud. The kid's a stud. Now the question is, can Pete Carroll and the crew over there with the Raiders do something with this man, because he's special. If you can block for him, he will make sure that the first man that his draws are dropped. And that is a colloquialism for saying that they ain't gonna be able to tackle the boy. And then you got Mimbu drafted by the Jets. But here is the one I want to point out. Number 8, the Carolina Panthers drafted Tetaroia McMillian, aka T-Mac. So there was a Twitter fight going on in my mentions because I posted Part of my interview with Jed Fish, the head coach at the University of Washington, he said that this is Mike Williams 2.0, which I totally agree with. And you had some Arizona people claiming, Shearer, who was claiming that Jed Fish was out here bad mouthing T Mac trying to lower his draft stock. And it's like, wait, what? So Jed Fish, thanks for retweeting that, showing everybody, and then congratulating the kid. So what all of that BS, eh, eh. But I do love this pick for my man Bryce Young, because your last group of wide receivers with Adam Thielen as your best wide receiver, that wasn't gonna cut it, pal. So they're giving him a fighting chance. They're giving him a chip in the chair. Love it. Saints. I'm telling you, I've been hearing whispers. I've been hearing whispers that you will not see Derek Carr playing football this year. The word on the street is you will see a retirement by Derek Carr. And so I am absolutely surprised that the Saints did not potentially take a quarterback at number 9, because quarterbacks are notoriously overdrafted. That's why. Not because necessarily anybody fits right there, but because quarterbacks are notoriously overdrafted. But they did draft a hell of a player in Kelvin Banks Jr., tackle out of Texas. Think he's going to be good. Next one up. And this one, I'm telling you, I called it from the beginning. I called it from the beginning about the best tight end that I believe in this draft was Colston Loveland. People were trying to sell me on Tyler Warren, who the Colts ended up drafting at 14, but Colston Loveland is the guy. Tyler Warren, yes, he could be Gronk. He could be. The gate is very narrow. They're like, George, but he caught 100 balls when he was in college, and so many picks, schemed open a lot. Did he make some tough catches? 100%. And is that Gronk like? Yes. But the more likely scenario is that he's a good wide tight end, offers you not a whole lot of specialness in the pass game, because he's going to have to make spectacular catches all the time because he can't run away from people, isn't sudden enough to get open. This is why I like Colston Loveland. Yes, he's had some injury history, but if you can keep the kid healthy, this is a guy who's going to be a potential all pro at the tight end position. Book it, write it down, remember it, take a picture. I told you right here on Unafraid Show. Um, then you had some other picks. Mikael Williams from Georgia, Tyler Booker from Bama, Kenneth Grant. That's the one that I have the video of on YouTube, where he's chasing the defender down. Kid's got a motor, like him out of Michigan. He's headed to the Miami Dolphins. Love it. Um, then we go down. Derek Harmon out of Oregon. That Pittsburgh Steelers pick at 21, that was the one that everybody was circling. That was where Shedeur Sanders was. People were wondering whether he was going to go. Well, that didn't happen. They drafted Derek Harmon out of Oregon. And this is a kid who transferred from Michigan State, goes to Oregon, first round pick, big time deal. And Derek Harmon, like, there's nothing wrong with that pick at all. I think the kid's going to be fantastic. But this is the Shedeur Sanders. This is where the whole drama starts to unfold here, because so many people picked that. And I'm wondering whether people picked that because Mike Tomlin, obviously, they need a quarterback. They are desperate for a quarterback. Or whether because they're like, oh, the black guy will pick Deion's son. Like, I really thought that's what people thought. And that's not the direction that they went at all. So now Pittsburgh still needs a quarterback, and Shedeur is left floundering in the wind. But the cool part is that the kid did tweet out before the draft, I'm ready for whatever happens today. So you know what that means? He knew. He knew that this was probably going to happen. He was prepared for the fact that this would probably happen. But why is the reason? And we saw all sorts of reports talking about, oh, he's brash, he's this, he's that. Yes, of course. You get it honestly from your dad. But here's the thing. I've been trying to put my finger on why the Deion and Shedeur hate is so great. And the part that confuses me about the entire situation is, what do you think Deion is? When you look at Deion, do you see bad father? Do you see a dad who's not there or present for his children, raising them and teaching them how to be men? No, right? You don't see him bad mouthing his kids, talking bad to them, anything. So why do we hate him as a father? Why do we hate his son? Same thing with LeVar Ball. What did LeVar Ball do besides support his kids, give them confidence that they can do anything? And then two of them were lottery picks. Same thing with Amon-Ra St. Brown's dad. He was hated in some circles because he believed he had a vision for his family and they executed it. And people have a problem with that. And I do not understand what the big problem is there. I don't get it. Is it their, like, people go, oh, they're arrogant. No, they're confident. They have they created a plan, they had a vision, and they were bold enough to say it. And that's the thing, for some reason, rubs people the wrong way. It don't rub me the wrong way because maybe I'm that kind of dad too. Um, but yeah, the Steelers still don't have a quarterback. They draft Derek Harmon. Okay, cool. Then you have the Chargers draft Omarion Hampton, the running back out of North Carolina. I am torn on this because I don't like drafting running backs super early or in the first round at all unless they're Ashton Jeanty, who is a special player. But I do also have to trust Jim Harbaugh because he can locate, identify a running back. They are going to run the hell out of the football. They needed a good back to help Justin Herbert out. So I'm going to go with I'm going to trust Jim Harbaugh on this. Not trust him like I trust him to to not have Connor Stallions on the sideline. No, no, no. I trust him as a football coach. He is going to put a good football team out there. So I'm gonna trust him with this pick. Texas. Well, sorry, Texas. The wide receiver out of Texas goes to Green Bay. And you probably saw Aaron Rodgers in his house punching the damn air like, oh, now you want to drive first round wide receiver? But did they really need to draft a first round wide receiver? They basically gave you that with Jordy Nelson, and they gave you that with Devontae Adams. So Devontae Adams was the best wide receiver in the league for like 5 or 6 years. So I don't want to hear no complaining about Green Bay fans. Oh, they finally did it. Well, they didn't need to draft it because he had phenomenal wide receivers the entire time. So yeah. Um, Vikings go O-line, which they desperately needed to protect JJ McCarthy, and they're rolling with him. But then here comes the 25th pick. You have the Giants trading back in to the 25th pick. And at that point in time, when they traded back in, you knew it was going to be a quarterback. ESPN and ABC are flicking back and forth between Jaxson Dart and Shedeur Sanders draft parties. And I knew from the jump when they showed, I was like, oh, this is Jaxson Dart. I could feel the energy coming off the TV. I can't be the only one that felt it. You sitting there watching, you're like, oh my God, this is Jaxson Dart. I know it. There wasn't any energy coming out of the Shedeur camp. And Jaxson Dart got his hand over his face. He's feeling good. He's smiling and all these things. And you just like, come on, Jaxson. Come on, man. Come on, buddy. We know what's up. We know what's up. Um, Now here's the thing. The the Giants have just I don't even understand why you even drafted him. If you were gonna sign Jameis Winston and Russell Wilson. You don't need all three of them. You need two. You need two. So where you go find Jaxson Dart reps? Or you just gonna put Jameis Winston and make Jaxson Dart make Russell Wilson or Jameis Winston inactive all year? Or on the like what are we doing here? Make it make sense, Giants. This is the issue. They don't know what the hell they're doing. They're out here guessing. And this is not sticking with your plan. They just keep, ooh, dog with shiny object, ooh, bone, ooh, car. That's what they're doing. And Jaxson Dart, who I talked to one of the preeminent college football trainers of guys coming out in the draft, and he is so high on Jaxson Dart. But he was also very high on CJ Stroud. But the difference is he's not high on Jaxson Dart to play immediately. He's high on Jaxson Dart to be able to develop into a good pro. So we'll see about that. James Pierce with the Falcons. So the Falcons picked up James Pierce and Jalen Walker, two edge rushers. They are going for not for broke. They're going for it right here. Big time. Big time. That's an absolute win. A win. Because whether both of them or one of them pan out, my money's on James Pierce Jr., but if both of them are great, you're going to have an Eagles-like defensive situation. The Ravens addressed their secondary with Malachi Starks. Cool. Lions take a defensive tackle from Ohio State. They got enough on offense. That's just the rich keep getting richer. They could have traded out of their first round pick and been just fine. Washington drafts Josh Connerly, kid from Oregon. He'll play well this year. Then you had Maxwell Harrison, Jaheed Campbell, and Josh Simmons end up getting drafted. Now, let's talk about some of the guys that did not get drafted. Aside from Shedeur Sanders, you also had Will Johnson, who was once considered the top quarterback in the draft. His stock just clearly plummeted because he was projected as a surefire top 5 pick, surefire top 10 pick coming into the season. Knee injury, but also he didn't test. And, a 40 time is going to look, it's going to matter. Like, you probably should test after you missed the entire season. But the film, when you turn on the Will Johnson film, you are highly impressed. Highly impressed. But the question is, why didn't you run your 40? But so maybe he's a guy who turns out to be a really good zone corner and a guy who plays really well. But maybe he's not fast enough to just stand there and lock it up man to man. But the reality is the film says otherwise. So we'll see about that whenever he gets drafted. But I would imagine that would be sooner rather than later. Missouri's Luther Burton III, he didn't get drafted. And his production dropped this last year, decreasing yards per reception. And now you're like, I wonder why. So, but he's going to be drafted, but there's a big difference. And I just want to point out to people that where you're drafted does not dictate, number one, how good you will be in the NFL, or number two, how good you are in general, because these dudes get it wrong all the time. They do. But the last one I want to talk about that went undrafted is Jalen Milroe. Now, I had no expectation, none, that Jalen Milroe was going to be a first round pick. But when he got invited to the NFL draft, that started raising questions like, what are we doing here? What are we doing? Who is drafting him in the first round? Because this don't make a lick of sense to me. So I didn't think that was going to happen. But at the end of the day, he got a chance to go have a special moment in the green room with some of his teammates that got drafted and friends. But at the end of the day, I don't know where he goes. Because this is a passing league and people want to think he's Lamar Jackson. He's not. That's not who the kid is. It's just not. Trying to think. What else should we go to? So the question is, looking at tomorrow and looking at these quarterbacks. So you got Shedeur Sanders, Tyler Shuck, Jalen Milroe, Will Howard, Quinn Ewers, Kyle McCord, Riley Leonard, Dylan Gabriel, Curtis Royke, Max Brosmer, and that's really the whole thing. So I believe the next quarterback off the board is probably going to be Shedeur Sanders. Either that or Tyler Shuck from Louisville by way of Oregon, by way of um Texas Tech. That's where I think that you're going to go. But I do believe somebody is going to be completely intrigued by the physical traits of Jalen Milroe. But the Browns have the first pick in the second round. They need a quarterback desperately at number 33. So I do, but then they also have the 36th pick too. So you're either going to see a quarterback drafted by the Browns at 33 or 36. Not sure which one, but one of them is going to do it. And then you have the Titans and the Texans in the middle. They're not drafting a quarterback. The Raiders at 37, they need a quarterback. So you're going to see two quarterbacks go in the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 picks of the second round. And then you're going to see another one probably go around pick 40, or you're going to see, if the Raiders don't draft one at 37, then that's another ideal spot for a quarterback. But if you don't find one there, maybe the Jets. Whew. Jeez Louise. Yeah, it's gonna get thin after that. It's gonna get thin in the second round. Because none of the teams on the back half of the second round, after you get past, pick 10, they don't need no quarterback. So you're gonna be on the float if you're a quarterback and you get past pick 10. Yeah, because nobody, unless they trade back in, ain't nobody doing it. And the Rams may draft a quarterback, but to develop, but yeah, probably unlikely. So yeah, it's gonna get slick for dudes if they don't go then, because then the third round it gets even stickier. And by that time, as a quarterback, you're probably not going to get an opportune situation to be able to thrive. But you guys, though, I appreciate your time. That was my NFL draft recap of the first round. Y'all make sure that you guys like, subscribe, get notifications, tell a friend about the show. And okay. I'll take some of your comments now because on YouTube I can see your comments. Jerpy Entertainment said, I can't even sleep right now. I'm so mad at my team. Who's your team? Um, and then somebody pointed out DJ Uiagalelei. Man, that's a sad case, man. I feel bad for the kid. He's for sure going undrafted. This was not the way the plan was supposed to be. It's not the way the plan people thought it was going to be. Sucks, but this is the way of the world when it comes to the NFL draft. As my former strength and conditioning coach would say, no excuses, no messengers, no sympathy groups. There's no sympathy. There's no sympathy, and nobody's going to feel sorry for you because this is big boy ball, and sometimes it hurts. But I do want to see Shedeur do well. I do want to see him get an opportunity, just like I want to see a lot of these other kids get opportunities too. But anyways, though, I'm George Wrighster. Peace out. Catch you guys later.